Hey, Sarah, what's going on? How are you?
Hi, nice to see you, Jimmy.
Likewise. Welcome to Let's Talk About It podcast YouTube. I'm happy you're here today.
I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
So you are the go-to person when it comes to Bergen County, right?
Yes, you know it.
That's what's up. So can you tell me a little bit about Bergen County?
Sure. So I live in Bergen County, and I just think that it's such a great area to live in for so many reasons, but one of it being in close proximity to New York City. So a lot of people that I work with still work in the city, and it's an easy commute. But, you know, it's also very close to that New York border. So if people want to hop over to Rockland County, they can do so, or maybe go to the Jersey Shore. There's just so many different places that you can go to from Bergen County. So I just think it's a really nice area to live.
So I found it interesting. For those who live in Rockland County, are they doing that a lot of times coming into New Jersey? Because in New Jersey, the gas station, the attendants pump for them. Is that
It's
really?
also cheaper.
Okay.
But yes,
So
I do know.
So you see that happening a lot, right?
I do. People like to cross that border there.
So when it comes to selling in Bergen County, do you have a particular approach on how do you go about that with potential clients?
Can you elaborate a little bit?
So selling, because so when it comes to, when you're selling, when someone's about to put the house on the market, right?
Yes.
They're always like, I don't know, who should I go with, or such and such just have experience, or where does the marketing come from, or how do I trust this person? I know when you and I were talking, you mentioned that you had an entire strategic approach when it comes to listing.
Yes.
So if you can expand on that, what does that look like?
Sure. Yeah, so when I'm meeting with a homeowner and we're getting ready to list the home, I mean, there's so many different steps that we take before we actually get your house on the market.
Right.
And a lot of it is just really getting your home ready. So that's everything from decluttering to staging and just really making that wonderful impression. So when potential buyers walk in, it's really important for them to have that lasting positive experience and impression on a home. With that said, when we also are thinking about where do we want to list a home, or, where we want to price a home.
Right.
I think that's so important because in this market, a lot of people still think that you can just, list a home on the MLS and it will just instantly sell. And unfortunately, while there is a lot of pent up demand and there's still a lot of buyers that are out there looking to get that home, it's not 2021.
It's not that easy, right?
It's not that easy. You still really need to price appropriately. And I think that is just it's so important because you really need to figure out what that market value price is. And I think that there's a lot of strategy behind it because the market is very fluid. And so, a home that sold a year ago, that price point may not be a good comp for a home that's listed for today's market.
Right.
So when we think about where we want to price a home, there's just a lot of factors that go into it. And at the end of the day, if a buyer looks at a home and they don't see the value, if it's priced too high, they're not even going to entertain it.
Right.
And, you're not really seeing buyers come in and submit a low offer. I mean, those could happen, but they just don't even want to look at it. So it's really important to price it very well to really get that attraction and get those buyers in. On top of it, on top of pricing, I think your marketing strategy is everything as well.
Right.
So when I look at a home, I really think about what type of buyer is going to be attracted to this home. Is it a family? Is it first-time home buyer? Is it someone who's looking to downsize? There's all those different factors. And so when I come up with my marketing strategy for that particular home, I always do like a customized marketing plan for each individual home. I really look at who are we targeting, who is our audience, and how are we going to appeal to them. So if it is kind of a younger type of buyer, then we're going to be, more on social media and doing a lot of video.
Which I've seen you done very well. You do the commentary really well. You tell the story like, hey, do you know you can do this? Hey, did you know this has this? Hey, did you know? And you make me feel comfortable knowing that I need you to get this house for me and my family. So you do a very good job on that, by the way.
Thank you. I think just to that point, a lot of times when I do meet with new homeowners, whether they found me on social media or through a referral or whatever it may be, if they do see me on social media, they see that I'm very genuine. Like what you see on social media is what you get in person. It's very important for me to be genuine and come across in that way because I want people to almost get to know me before they get to know me. And it's really the same thing. Like what you see is what you get.
You do, again, good job. I've met a lot of partners and, they do a good job too. But from what I've seen from you, it just looks like you really gravitate me into it. It's almost like I have an avatar ready to move into the house and be like, yo, I want this one because Sara told me so much about this house. And you dive into the community too when you speak about the house a lot.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I think that that's really important. I think for buyers, it's not just about, I need this in a home and I need 4 bedrooms. It's really about the neighborhood. It's about the community. And, there's a lot of different things that I make sure that buyers kind of research to make sure that it's a community that they feel comfortable in. And it's really like what they're looking for. Because at the end of the day, you can change anything you want in a home. You can renovate, you can change it inside, outside. But I always say you can't change the location. You can't change the neighborhood. No. So those are a lot of factors that you need to think about as well.
How's the impact on working from home life changed Bergen County area? I know our proximity is to New York. You talked about that earlier, but have you seen a drastic change in that because more have decided that I can do this and go into the city at the same time?
So what's interesting is a couple years ago, when it was a little bit closer to that COVID time, we did see a lot of people who were relocating or, and really they were fully remote. What we're seeing right now is kind of this hybrid where a lot of people are still working remotely. So they do, a home office is at the top of their list, but they also are going into the office a couple days a week. So it's, I also need to be close to transportation, or I also need to be, 10 miles within my office. And so it's kind of, they want both of those things.
Best of both worlds, huh?
Yeah, they really do, which makes it so much more challenging. but it's good. And I think that that's something that we have to factor in as well, is that some days they're working from home and some days they're not. I'm not seeing quite as much of an influx of people coming, from out of state, but there's still certainly, some of that demand for sure. Yeah.
I'm getting used to Bergen County. I know Essex and Union very well, but now that my office is now in Bergen County, Paramus, I'm seeing so many nice things. 'Cause every time I think of Bergen County, I'm thinking of Route 4 and 17. Because apparently I'm always either going to the mall or I'm going into New York City from 17 to 3, right? I'm like, that's all I know. But as I'm traveling to meeting other partners, and I met you in, what was that?
In Westwood.
In Westwood, which was a very, very, very nice town. My first time there, I was blown away. I was like, this is a hidden gem right here. And it just so happened, a friend of mine who just brought neighboring town, right? I think it was Hillsborough.
Hillsdale.
Yeah, Hillsdale.
Yes.
And we're from Union County. And I see him there. We're both at the Starbucks. We're like, oh my God, that's Jimmy. I'm like, oh, yo, that's Matt. And I'm like, oh. And then you're like, oh my God. And then you're like, look at this family. This is exactly what we're talking about, right? How some are coming from central, north, up central, south, and probably coming up north New Jersey because of the proximity to New York City. So
yes, exactly.
Towns that,
it's just so easy, I feel like, to really commute to anywhere from Bergen County. You have train, you have buses, you could also easily drive in. So I think that that's the big attraction with Bergen County is just having that being, close to transportation, whatever your needs are. Yes. And it's also just, like you were saying, there's a lot of wonderful towns in Bergen County and just have so much to offer, everything from restaurants to shopping. And so it's just, I don't know, I just love living there.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it. I think if someone showed me Bergen County first, I think I would have, Union County, I would have hit Bergen. I would have been there. So we know interest rate is a hot topic. How are you having that conversation with first-time home buyers?
Sure. So I think that it's just challenging, especially first-time home buyers tend to have more limited budgets. And so with the higher interest rates, it's just, and with a lot of these homes going, multiple offers and well over the asking price, it's certainly a challenge. What we do is a couple different things. First thing is really educating the buyers, kind of hearing in what they want in a home, but also managing their expectations. I think, every first-time home buyer has in their head this vision of, the perfect home, my forever home, but really your first home doesn't necessarily need to be that forever home. And so what I really try to hone in on is what can they really afford given all of these different factors, what's really important in their first home, and trying to find them something that kind of makes them feel comfortable financially, but also satisfies.
Striking that balance is not easy, right?
It's not easy. And
Right.
especially with the limited inventory right now, it's certainly challenging, but everything always works out, and there's a home for everybody. And I just tell them to be patient and open-minded.
Okay.
I think that those two things are really important because it is taking a little bit longer for buyers, especially first-time home buyers, to find that home. But I think it's also important for them to be open-minded. Maybe they're like, I only want to live in this town, but maybe there's other towns, surrounding that have a little bit lower price points, but
Right.
still nice homes in a nice neighborhood and good school. So just really kind of educating them on all different elements and what they're
And
looking
it makes a difference too, right? Because some towns, like you just mentioned, what you talked about, some towns, they may be priced a little higher, but the taxes are not as bad.
Right.
So they can qualify going that direction because, the monthly payments are that much easier and they're qualifying. So it's a tough conversation, right? Because most of the time it makes sense. The town that has the more commercial space is where the taxes are not as much, where a town does not have that much business. They're paying a little bit more in taxes because of the services that are required behind
Right.
it. So sometimes you can't get that, and you have to let that individual know or family, hey, you know what? Well, this is not what you're looking for. I know what you're looking for, unfortunately, because of where you're at with your income, based on what Jimmy gave you on your pre-approval.
Yes.
Got to play in there, right? This is where you can navigate your purchase. So these conversations are never easy. And it's even challenging, too, at times, right? When that parent comes involved.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about that part, right?
Parents. Well, I think what's also that I really try to communicate with buyers and especially first-time home buyers is that, the waiting game of, maybe the mortgage rates will come down. I hate to say it, but it may not work in your favor. I mean, I'm seeing buyers that I've been working with for a year or more,
Right.
and you just can't really predict what the future holds. But what I tell them is, if you find a home, maybe it's not perfect, but it really does check off a lot of your boxes, and you like it,
Right.
let's go for it, because then what you can do is build that equity, and so maybe in 5 years, 7 years from now, you have all this equity in your home, and then you can sell it and use that to get that next
Right.
perfect home that you really, wanted.
The part of the problem is like we're so used to instant gratification right now. We need the white fence. We need the tall windows. I promise you, it does look nice. It does. It really does. But there's also cost, right? You have to live within your means, and sometimes taking a step backward will help you get what you're looking for in the future. So, and understanding the expenses, because you and I both know the mortgage is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is the liabilities, right? The water bill, the unforeseen things that can happen, the kids' sports. That thing adds up. There's no math for that thing. I promise you. Like sometimes I'm like, woof. How do I do it? How do other parents do it with families when it comes to kids and activities and everything? So there is a rolling cost behind that. So that's why it's so important to understand your financials before that you make that next step.
Yes, definitely.
Right.
And I have to just say, I'm going to plug
Sure.
you here, is that, it's so important. You have to be pre-approved.
Right.
There's no exceptions. And so when I am having that buyer consultation with them, that is one of the first things I'm going to ask them, because, they may think in their mind, we can afford this, but what is that, true amount that you can afford?
Right. And what I usually do through my mortgage report, I usually give them different options so they can have an idea of what that looks like, because I always feel like you need to see if you're going up a little bit more, what will that cost you, as opposed to be like, I don't know what's going. I give you a full analysis so you have a clear vision. If you go up $10,000-$20,000 more, how much more your mortgage will be, so then you're comfortable with that.
And that's huge. And I'll tell you why. Because as I mentioned before, a lot of homes in Bergen County are getting multiple offers.
Right.
And as a listing agent, a lot of times you do, highest and best. And so from a buyer standpoint, if they're pre-approved for, $800,000, but you need to go more than that, it's like, how much more will it be to go for an offer that's $810,000, $820,000,
Right.
and really understanding how much additional per month will they need to pay.
Yeah, it's always important. So we're talking about real estate, and I see your passion and your love for it. What made you get into real estate?
So I'm glad you asked me that. So my background is actually marketing and advertising.
She does a good job with the marketing and advertising,
I did marketing and advertising for like 20 plus years. I worked for the advertising agencies in New York City. I did the client side as well. And while I loved it, I never really felt fulfilled.
Okay.
And so my husband actually, he's been in sales forever, and he got his real estate license before me, 2 years before I did. And my grandma was actually selling her home in Pearl River, New York, and he's licensed in New York and New Jersey. And so he listed her home, and he really was looking for me to help behind the scenes. I helped with marketing.
Right.
I helped stage her home, clean it out, really gonna go through all of that. And I loved it. I loved doing it. And he's like,
I see the smile. Look
he's
at
like,
this is
you're
amazing.
really good at this.
Okay.
And so after he did sell the home very quickly and over ask, and that was like 8 years ago. So I loved it, and I wanted to kind of learn more. And he's like, I think you should get your real estate license and do this with me. And so I did. I left my old life behind, and I went in full force, and I never looked back. And it's just, my only regret is that I didn't do it sooner. It's just truly a passion of mine, and it's the fulfillment that I've always been looking for. And I can still do like the marketing and advertising, being on social media, but it's really that personal connection and working with these clients. It's, buying a home or selling a home is such an emotional journey, and to be part of that with somebody is just, it's a very intimate thing.
Right.
And you kind of are in it with them, the highs and the lows. And, I'm also a part-time therapist for my clients.
Yeah, you need to be a therapist sometimes working in this market, right?
But I love it. And so it was really my husband who got me into it. And I just knew that now I know that this is like my calling. This is what I was supposed to do.
There it is. The team definitely is moving the goalpost to where you're at today. You're successful doing it. So many towns in Bergen County have unique characteristics. Can you highlight one or two towns that has the good food and the good parks?
Sure. So I have to say there's a lot of amazing towns in Bergen County.
Which is your favorite though?
Well, I mean, I guess I can't be biased with the town that I live in. I live in Rivervale in Pascack Valley area, and I love it, love it, love it. But it's, I would say that every town, it's really is subjective. I think it's very important for a person to kind of find their vibe, find, what kind of community they want to be in. And it's really what you're looking for. I would say, if you're really looking for an awesome downtown that has like shopping and restaurants and like a really, amazing downtown feel, then Ridgewood is an incredible place to live. But with that said, you're also going to pay a premium living in Ridgewood, right? Because you're getting the good schools, you're getting the downtown area. There's a train that easily commutes into New York City, so that is a huge attraction to people. But there's a lot of other areas. I mean, Paramus is a huge area. A lot of people there's lots of new construction that's happening in Paramus, and that's attracting a lot of luxury buyers as well. So, I would say, and then where I am, with this Pascack Valley area, which covers several different towns, Rivervale, Old Tappan, Montvale, Hillsdale, I mean, the list goes on and on, but I really love it because of the community. I think for my town personally, it's, just really getting everybody in the town together. It has that small town feel, but it's not super small where everyone's in everyone's business. But we have a farmer's market. We have a town day. Halloween is huge. They shut down streets in our town, like in certain areas on Halloween. And you just see, like, I'm not joking, hundreds of families just walking around going trick-or-treating. And it's huge. And there's just, there's a lot of elements to my town and so many other towns in Bergen County that also have the similar elements. And so I think that it's really important not just having like those shops and restaurants, but it's also what other amenities does your town have to offer. Right.
Which is key. I recall when my daughter was swimming at Wyckoff YMCA, because we're coming from the Summit YMCA, and Bergen County, most stores are closed on Sundays.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And
the blue laws.
The blue laws. And I wanted to watch football, and I didn't want to be in the swim meet all day. So I went over to Ridgewood. When I got to Ridgewood, I was blown away. I was like, oh, I was like, so it reminded me like Summit/Westfield in Union County because it had like the downtown appeal, the proximity, and then you could see New York from depending on certain sections of that town. I was like, okay, I think I could dig it. But then when I looked up the MLS on what those numbers look like, I was like, yeah, I can see from here. I'm okay.
But, so yes, I mean, Ridgewood, I'm not going to lie. Like it is.
I'm okay.
It is, a higher price point to live there. But
I like your word choice. I Bad Boys expensive.
But, you do get what you pay for. But with that said is like what I say to buyers who say, I really want Ridgewood. It's like my dream to live there. Okay, why? I listen to them. Like, why is it your dream to live there? And then what if we looked at Glen Rock? Like, what if we looked at like some other towns? I mean, don't get me wrong, Glen Rock also has kind of a higher price point, but not quite as high as Ridgewood. So, there's options. Maybe you can just be like 5 or 10 minutes from town. I'm 20 minutes from Ridgewood. I still go to Ridgewood to go shopping and go to restaurants. Okay. So it's really kind of like, as long as you're in that close proximity, maybe you don't need to actually be in that town, but you can be close to it and still get all of those benefits.
Nice. So how does it feel to be part of Agent Leadership Council, ALS, as part of Keller Williams? ALC.
Yes. So Keller Williams, just to give you a quick backstory. So Keller Williams, in every office, they have an ALC, which is the Agent Leadership Council. Right. And what this comprises of is really the top 10% of your office, and you're asked to be on it. It's not something, it's kind of like your team leadership, your broker, your team leader, who kind of really to ask you to be on it. And it's an honor. And what it does is I kind of look at it as almost like a board of directors. So you really we meet often. It's like a group of people, and we kind of see what can we do to make our office even better and really bring everybody in. So everything from having, social events. So we are, we'll have a meeting, like a training class, and then afterwards we're having massages and mimosas.
Nice.
So yes.
Keller Williams is doing this.
So there's, things like that. We also come up, Keller Williams is known for their training and really doing a lot of classes to help other agents, everything from listing appointments to buyer consultations to learning. I just went to a class that talked about, we had a panel of people talking about short sales and REOs, and, everything that's happening with how things are changing in August, and really educating agents to make us, smarter agents and really service our clients in the best way possible. And so we will meet and talking about what kind of training classes our agents, everyone from seasoned agents to new agents in our office, what will really benefit them. Right. And so I love being part of this committee because it helps me have a say in what I think is important in our office, but also to give back to other agents. I remember being a new agent and just coming in, and I was not knowing anything. You're just kind of learning. And so when I was able to go to all of these training classes and I walked out, I'm like, I just feel just so much more confident. And that's what I want to give back to other agents as well.
That's cool. And I can see why, right? Again, if you check out Sara's social media page, it is the bomb, right? You have a lot going. Again, how you tell the story, you do a very good job, right? I don't want to complex my word choice, but you do a very good job at how you call it. You talk about the town, and then you talk about some of the experiences that you've encountered with others, how they're not respecting the field when it comes to clients, because in the end, we want to help all clients, right?
Yes.
So you delivered a message really well on your social media when it came to something was happening where it didn't make sense. Why didn't you communicate in a better format? Because my client wants the home just as much as everybody else's client, but because of that lack of communication, you didn't come across professionally, and this is not how we should be treating each other, especially in the market that we're in. You told that story very well.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I think this is why, another reason why you got that ALC recognition, because you do a very good job when it comes to marketing. You do a very good job when it comes to advertising. Is marketing and advertising the same thing? Is it?
Yes, essentially. Yes.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing, right? So you do a good job job delivering that part. So kudos to you on that.
I think it's really important, for social media. Like, yes, I certainly have like my quick, funny reels that I do about, the pain points of being a real estate agent.
Rock, paper, I like that. Rock, paper. I can't even do it. Rock, paper. I was like, did she just do that? I was like, rock, paper, boo. Then you see the music come on. That was.
And I talked about equity, right?
Yeah,
in
she
that
did.
one.
Yeah, she
so
did.
I like to mix it up all the time, and I do like kind of my funny reels. But then I also, it's about storytelling. And I actually, as part of the ALC, I teach a lot of social media classes to other agents. And, people are like, I'm so afraid to like talk about what's happening, clients. And I was like, why? Like, I will, if something happened in real life, like something happened to my buyer or something happened, to a seller, I talk about it because it's important for people to be educated about what's going on and things that we do. And I'll do something, and I'll even have a client text me, be like, was that last video about me? And I'm like, yes, it was. They're like, yeah. So like my clients love it. They love when I like talk about it, because I want to talk about kind of what's the pain points, and then how am I finding a solution for that pain point?
Right.
And I think it's really important to talk about that on social media, because everyone's they're all feeling it, and I get so many, whether it's agents or other clients, or not even clients, just people who follow me. And they're like, I feel this to my core, like that you totally hit it on. And that's just how I want to come across, is just very genuine and just honest. I'm blunt, but, and honest, but I think it's important to just be truthful because that's how you build that connection with people.
Right. I see you on IG and Facebook. How are you using other platforms like TikTok, if you're using it, and LinkedIn and YouTube? Are you being resourceful on those
so I think it's very important to be on all of those platforms.
Right.
It's definitely a different audience. So, some people will just kind of post one thing to every single social media platform. And I don't think that's really, you can certainly do that.
Right.
But I think that it's really, you're speaking to different audience members.
Right.
I think that people who are on Facebook are very different than people who are on Instagram, who are on YouTube, so to be honest with you, I'm not on every single platform.
You're on a platform that makes sense for you, right?
That's exactly right. So I kind of tested the waters a lot, I think. And what I found was my biggest return on my investment, meaning my time, was really Instagram. I think Instagram is kind of where I felt I was able to grow more significantly, but also reach a certain community that I was targeting. I think, it's good for short form content. I think YouTube has a lot of benefits because it's a little more evergreen. You can do long form content and it kind of stays there. So that's definitely something that I'm trying to get back into. I think LinkedIn is also a huge platform that I'm not utilizing, but that is like, in real time right now, I'm starting to utilize more because there's so many great connections that you can make there. But I think what my advice would be to other agents, like when I'm teaching classes, is really, do a platform that you feel most comfortable with.
Right.
What kind of traction you're getting, because at the end of the day, my full-time job is being a real estate agent. It's not a social media manager. So I really need to kind of manage my time and do what I can, because at the end of the day, real estate is where I need to be.
Well, that's where we met on Instagram. So
yes.
Instagram is a great call to action if this is a platform you're strong at. So it works really well. Well, Sara, thank you so much for coming on my Let's Talk About It podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored.
We covered a lot, and I know this was a lot, given where you come from, Bergen County, to out here in the studio, but it's cool. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right. Have a good one. That was cool. I only phoned with once with the